Hey kids, it's Bobo here, and you're listening to the wildest, most far out, wiggling podcast, Anime Egotists. We love you, beauty.
And welcome back to the Anime Egotists, where it ain't easy being us, especially with this Wi-Fi.
Yeah, this is our fifth time attempting to film this video.
Yeah, let's hope this one works. But anyways, you got me, Alex, and I cheat in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm proud of it, but I at least have some semblance of what I'm doing, unlike my friends in middle school.
I'm Richard. I'm the friend in middle school who didn't know what to do.
That's right. But you're not here to listen to us talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Maybe another time. We're gonna talk about Pokemon. Again, yeah, big deal. But this time things are gonna be a little different. You guys remember the video we did about Ethan and Brendan, both from the games, but this time in the Pokemon anime, talking about Ethan and his struggles with his father and becoming a more accepting person, while Brendan starts off as a cocky yet lonely person who becomes accepted by Ash, May, and the others. You guys really liked that for some reason. So we decided, let's do it again with some more game characters.
Yeah, so this time we've decided to focus on Lucas. One, because the Gen 4 games just came out, remakes just came out. And this time we decided to focus on just one character at a time.
Yeah, because apparently Rich is saying, "Oh, well, it's so complicated." I'm like, "Yeah, well, but then again, figure it out for us. Put down in the comments. Do you like this version where it's just us both talking about one character, or do you like it more when we each have a character? Or let us know, or we'll just keep doing the same thing." But the reason we picked Lucas, one, because we're kind of going in order at this point, is mainly just because Lucas got nothing to do in any of these games. He's not even in Masters EX. That man needs a lawyer or a new contract or something. I feel so sorry for that guy.
I mean, has he even appeared in any of the movies or anything?
Like he and cameos. Oddly enough, he battled Brendan in one of the movies, but we never got to see. We never got to see one of the conclusion of it. But moving on, we're going to address some of our newest subscribers, and as always, we appreciate the love. We appreciate you guys coming to us, even with all of our difficulties and weird scheduling conflicts and bad quality of opinions. We appreciate you guys, such as Cushy is Night. Thank you for subscribing. And if you would like a shout out or just your name or just a prop or anything you want us to shill or something, and your name isn't appearing, just let us know and we will get back to you. But as always, thank you guys.
Exactly. We really appreciate all the support y'all are giving us.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, but let's dive into it. Let's talk about Lucas, putting him from the games to the anime.
Yep. So if I remember correctly, in one of these first attempts, we actually talked about his personality to start.
Yeah, that's right. Personality. You don't have to keep bringing up how much this is failing, because otherwise that might jinx it. But the way I see it is, a lot of people will describe characters as cocky, arrogant, and stuck up in that sort of sense. I don't see Lucas as that. I see Lucas as when I see Lucas, I see a genuinely kind person who wants to do his best to help people. At times says the wrong thing and doesn't always pick up on cues, but overall, just a very kind, sometimes even brave human being who's just a friend that you have that you can always count on.
Yeah, he's kind of he definitely feels like the almost oblivious friend. He might say something and then not quite understand why someone got upset at him for what he said, but he didn't mean to cause any harm. He just kind of said it, and that was taken out of context, I guess, the writer.
For those of you who are Power Rangers fans, specifically Power Rangers SPD, I see my interpretation of Lucas as kind of like Bridge from, once again, SPD. The Green Ranger, he's kind of a weirdo, kind of an oddball, but never a malicious person, a very kind-hearted person, just a little bit on the weird side, but you always want to have him around, because we all just need a loyal friend.
Exactly. Again, I definitely see him as definitely more friendly. If he's going to be a rival kind of style, he's the friendly rival that shows up every so often. He's definitely not a Paul or a Trip style where they're a bit more antagonistic especially at the start. he's definitely more friendly. He's there to help them out.
That's right. And I actually have an episode where I'd want where I'd want Lucas to debut in Diamond and Pearl.
All right.
Remember it might have even been the very first episode where Dawn's getting to Professor Rowan's lab and Chimchar and Piplup get into that fight and escape and that sort of thing?
Okay.
This is where I might need a little bit of your help on it, because I'm going to be honest with you guys, I would not have Lucas be a rival to Ash or Dawn. I would have Lucas at Professor Rowan's lab, potentially even with his father, and they're going off, and Piplup and Chimchar escape, and Lucas is back at the lab thinking, "Oh God, what are we gonna do?" And everybody else is kind of freaking out too. It's at this point where I wouldn't have Lucas go with Dawn. I'd have Lucas stay behind, kind of as a background figure for just a little bit before giving him a more prominent role as the series went on. I'm struggling because part of me has always thought he has Chimchar, and in some forms of media, he has Chimchar. But I've been thinking, especially with your takes recently on what you have on your team in Brilliant Diamond or Shining Pearl or whatever, I think I might want him to have Turtwig.
It almost feels like it would be needed. The only thing I can think of would be, I mean, they've done it before. If he's not a traveling companion, let's say he's a recurring character.
Yeah, that's what I was not going to have him be a traveling companion, but who knows?
Then he could pretty much, I would say he could have either Turtwig or Chimchar.
Yeah.
I don't want him to have Piplup because Dawn has Piplup, and then her male rival has...
And Kenny had a Piplup, Barry had a Piplup, but then again, Paul had Turtwig, Ash had Turtwig. Yeah, that's the problem with Diamond and Pearl. The starters did not feel special. It felt like every other trainer had one, which makes things kind of difficult. But I remember because there's a part early on when Chimchar and Piplup have escaped and Professor Rowan shows up, it's like, oh, Professor Rowan, both of the Pokemon escaped, and Turtwig is just being all nice and charming, all on so being a good Pokemon, just eating its food. And then Professor Rowan kind of gives it a look like, it's like, all we have left is Turtwig. And he's like, I see. And Turtwig kind of backs off scared because we all know Professor Rowan. He's a good guy, but he is scary. I'd have Lucas put his hand on Turtwig like, hey, you didn't do anything wrong. It's all right. And then at the end of the episode, Professor Rowan's like, Lucas, I think it's time you get out of here. It's time you experience the world. Oh, then Lucas can even be like, you're firing me? It's like, Lucas, you're not getting... No, just take a Pokemon you want. He's like, oh, well, I guess I'll take Turtwig with me. And then him and Dawn could go off on their own separate paths.
Yeah, I can understand that. And it kind of feels right. I think we're kind of in the same mindset where, at least at the start, he's a research, I guess, fellow, kind of like what Ash and Go are in the current one, but with Professor Rowan.
Right, basically that.
Again, I still see him as maybe a year older than Ash and Dawn are portrayed. Just
that could be
give him that extra inch or two in height. He doesn't have to be as tall as Brock, but it'd be interesting to see him as just a slightly older, maybe he decided he didn't want to go on a journey, and we'll get some backstory to that when he turned 10 or something. So
yeah, that sort of thing. I guess, and part of the thing for me is I always found it super weird how when Kenny showed up, Barry was like, oh yeah, we were friends from Twin Leaf Town. I'm like, did Lucas just disappear? Why is he not your childhood friend like he was in the game? So, look, you and I have both made it kind of clear, we're not really the biggest fans of Kenny. It's not even the last thing he does. It's just more of, do you remember anything special he did or any funny lines or jokes or anything about Kenny?
Not really. The only reason I remembered that he had a Piplup or its evolutions was that a video popped up on my feed in YouTube the other day that showed, I guess it was him and Dawn having a battle or something, I think. And it was, he had, I think it was Primplup at the time. So it was like, okay, I forgot about this, but I do recognize him as a rival for Dawn.
Yeah, so I guess the thing is, I guess I have two ways of doing this. One is we just completely cut Kenny out, because Dawn had 4 or 5 other rivals already. She didn't need any more. That was kind of one of the problems with Diamond and Pearl. But to me, it would be kind of cool if Lucas and Barry kind of had their own friendship like they did in the manga. Which, oddly enough, apparently Barry in the manga was the straight man of the two, which if you know the anime or the games, do you see Barry as a straight man?
No, he's really not portrayed that in any other media. Yeah, and I think the games are the most canon of all of the things, so...
Yeah, but anyways, Lucas goes on his own journey. And every now and then he would meet up with Dawn, Brock, and Ash, and just everybody. And I feel like he would not be the type of person to go after the gyms, at least not right away. Maybe at the end of the series, he's like, actually, I think I'm going to take the gym challenge or something like that. But for now, I think he's just trying to fill out the Pokedex. Maybe his story is similar to May and Chloe's. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do.
Yeah, I can kind of see it starting out of he wants to be a Pokemon, kind of like the opposite of Gary's, where as of right now, we as of this time in the US when we're filming this, we still haven't gotten part 2 of Master Journeys, which I think changes some stuff with Gary. But as of the ending of Johto, he became a researcher, so kind of the opposite. He starts out wanting to be a Pokemon researcher and then becomes some sort of trainer instead towards the end.
Yeah. And also, you could even, because Dawn was super weird about Professor Oak and his poetry, maybe she asked Lucas to do it, and Lucas is like, I don't know what you want me. But then when he finally does it, she's like, it might need a little bit of work. I'm like, and he could be like, I'm trying here. Not to mention, I guess one of the things I've always thought about Lucas is he's kind of goofy.
Yeah, I kind of see him as he would definitely be the instigator. Like, he'd introduce Barry to the series and stuff, but it's somehow like he'd run into Barry and they like tumble down a hill or something, and that's how they run into
and they get really mad at each other, like, yo! And then they realize that they're friends, and then they just patch each other up. But I guess the thing for me kind of stemming from that is I feel like Lucas really likes the idea of being a hero. Not necessarily a superhero like that one Pokemon character, but just in the sense of he wants to protect people. He wants to find a way to help people, because this is where I take some inspiration from the games, because if you go into Lucas or Dawn's house, not only is their grandfather there, but they also have a little sister.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe Lucas thinks to himself, and we don't necessarily have to get into what happens to Lucas's mom. Maybe we do, maybe we don't, but it could be a sense of, I want to protect her. I want to show her that I can be strong. So maybe it's in the sense of something happens before he leaves and he ends up risking his life like Ash and the gang would do. And his dad kind of pulls him aside like, what were you doing? You could have gotten hurt. Are you proud of yourself? And he could probably be like, Dad, I was just, he's like, because I'm proud of you. You're really growing up. You need to go on this journey because I think you're ready. And I think deep down, you know you're ready. So they already have a better relationship than Ethan or Brendan do with their respective parents, because we couldn't keep doing that forever.
Yeah. I could almost see it being, it's revealed maybe some sort of childhood trauma. The Pokemon, like the family's Pokemon or his sister's Pokemon, was stolen by Team Galactic. And part of his thing is when he gets kind of the change in personality, he gets very aggressive when it comes to battling Team Galactic or something like that.
No, I was going to add to that in the sense of, as nice of a person as he is, the second you make him mad, it is terrifying. Like, he's not somebody you want to mess with. But I'd also, kind of like a prototype to Clement, I'd have Lucas also be very smart. Like, not necessarily genius level IQ, but he's worked in the research field a lot, and he's able to pick up on stuff. Like, because we talked about it first, he doesn't always say the right things. He doesn't always pick up on cues like that. I'd have it develop to the point where he's actually kind of able to see people for how they really are. Like, if somebody's acting like a bully in one episode, he can kind of look at them and tell, deep down, it's not that they're a bad person. Maybe they're just sad or scared or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily aura reading. I guess technically with Pokemon and Lucario, you could add that, but it'd just be more of a subtle case of he can just tell nowadays.
Yeah, I could see him being very emotionally aware, I guess is the right terminology for it. Of both, I would have him be of both people and Pokemon, but maybe he has to develop the Pokemon side of it a little bit. He starts out, he can kind of understand Pokemon, but maybe he does some stuff that's kind of confusing to them, and it takes Ash trying to kind of teach him how to do, like, Pokemon are still a little bit different than humans. We try to treat them the same, but
I barely understand humans. Oh gosh. Maybe he's like Bridge and he just stands on his head to figure stuff out. I don't know. Oh, but I guess my thing is, one of the problems I also had with Diamond and Pearl was, as good as Brock's development was from being just a breeder to a Pokemon doctor, it really didn't take place until like the last few episodes of the series. I'd have kind of Lucas not necessarily be a rival to Brock, but kind of play a role in his development earlier on. It's just like, well, Ash and Dawn are doing this stuff, and they're getting badges and ribbons and all this sort of stuff. What are you doing? It's just like, oh, I'm just a Pokemon breeder. It's like, well, how does that work? It's like, well, I have to understand my Pokemon and take care of them. It's like, okay, but what's next? And kind of make Brock think. Obviously, Lucas doesn't have to get in his face and be aggressive, but just kind of wondering. Like, he's just genuinely curious. If anything, out of the three main casts, I might have Lucas's main interactions be with Brock, because Brock just, for the longest time, Brock just did not get a whole lot to do.
Yeah, I tend to agree. That would be probably a good idea, especially in developing Brock's story and throughout it, because you're very right. It's like, wait, why does he want to become a Pokemon doctor? And then nothing really comes of it.
Yeah, and to be fair, the episodes at the end justify it were good episodes, but at the same time, it did kind of come out of nowhere. Unless you just want to stick with the age-old theory of, oh, he just did it to get with the Nurse Joys, which, respect, but still. I'm kind of curious, though. Do you have any interactions that Lucas would have with, like, Team Rocket in particular?
I would have him not interact the first couple times he shows up. Maybe and then I would have him probably get fooled by them somehow, whether it's a Pokemon of his gets stolen, or he supports them in something, thinking that they're doing something right for a whole bunch of trainers, and he has to come to realize that they're not.
Yeah, I like the second idea more, because it could deal with him being guilty, and he finds, in a way, he's like, okay, you guys pulled a fast one on a nice guy. Normally I'd let you get away with it, but after hurting all these people, I'm not really sure I can let you go after that. And people can be like, Lucas, but they're like, no, let me handle this. I got this. And they can kind of be like, dude, you saved the day, you're good. He can just be like, oh, okay, awesome. Sorry about that, guys. And they just kind of back away, like, look, we like you, man, but you were legitimately terrifying. But one of the things I thought was, like, that could be, like, the first few times they meet. But after a while, because we all know the gag, Team Rocket have some of the worst disguises ever, yet the twerps keep falling for it. I'd have the first, like, after all what we've talked about, Lucas would be like, well, wait a minute, this seems kind of suspicious. It's everybody gets their Pokemon taken, and then because they tell Lucas, like, Lucas, there's nothing to worry about. It's okay. Hey, and then it's like, oh, it's Team Rocket. He's like, oh, so I was right about that. Well, at least I'm getting better about it. But the more and more it happens, it's like, oh, Team Rocket took our Pokemon. He could immediately just scream, oh yeah, who didn't see that coming? It's almost like I said that. And they could just be like, sorry. He's like, no, I'm done today. Close out the episode without me.
You know what would be really funny for them to do if they ever refilm all these series?
What's up?
It's Team Rocket's got a plan, I guess, to steal Pokemon. Maybe it's at a contest or something. It doesn't even have to have the main cast in it. It could be a Lucas-centric episode.
Works for me.
And it's literally him catching them constantly, unmasking them, like pulling off the wig or the dress, revealing that they're Team Rocket. And he just does this consistently through the episode and is pretty much like the security for the event. Yeah,
he could make some great money off of that. Although I will say I would want him to compete in one contest, just because we see Lucas apparently has a contest outfit, which is a tuxedo. It could purely just be for the fan service of it. He doesn't necessarily have to win. He can just show up, do pretty well, but then Dawn could win in the end, or whoever was supposed to win could win in the end.
That is something that would be interesting. So I could kind of see it towards the middle of the series, maybe right after Dawn's won her first ribbon, because it was pretty much the middle of the series when she finally won one.
Yeah, or at least got her confidence back.
Yeah, so the next contest, he's kind of trying to figure things out. So he's trying contests, maybe about the 4th or 5th gym. You see him walking out having won the gym badge. It's his only gym badge, but he won that trying out the gym.
Yeah. Heck, it could even be one of the ones that Ash lost to, and Ash would be like, "But how did you?" I don't know. We just won. But I guess we kind of have to address one of the elephants in the room. What would his interactions with Dawn be like?
I almost feel like if we make him like I said, a year or two older, he almost treats her like his little sister. And we'll say his little sister's like 5 or 6 at this time. So
like Max and Bonnie age.
Yeah, but he treats Dawn like that, even though she's only a year or two younger than him, and it's kind of awkward for her, but he doesn't realize it, I would say, almost.
Yeah, but obviously I think he would have to grow out of it at some point, because we're trying to develop him. At the same time, though, I would also remember Lyra and Corey. We've talked about them a couple times before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I would have him also show up there, because he's just like, oh, hey, so you guys are just traveling together, so that's cool. I guess I'll just be on the hey, and just for one episode, they could be like, look, Lucas, you want to just come with us? He's like, oh, if it's not too much of an imposition, I guess I can come. Look, Lucas, just get over here, okay? Hey, and we because they do it all the time. We'd have to throw in the joke of Lyra being like, so, Lucas, what do you think about Dane? I'm like, and he could even be like, Dane, who's Dane? Hey, are you two? Is she your girlfriend? And he could be like, what? No. Who's Dane?
Well, I'd almost want her to, Lyra, to mix his name up as well, just as the joke. Okay, the 2 main game characters that you can play as, she doesn't know how to do it. So there's Dane, and she calls him like Luke.
That could work, and at the same time, you'd be like, okay. I mean, look, Dawn's great and everything, but we're not, you know that, right? And she's like, don't worry, I'll help you. And he's like, no, that's okay. Seriously, that's okay. But obviously, Lucas and Dawn, I'd write them to be very close friends.
Mm-hmm. As I said, I think they start out kind of awkwardly and would develop, though, the very friendly relationship.
Yeah, maybe even to an extent. I completely lost my train of thought. Okay, yeah, like when Dawn's going through her crisis of confidence, because Ash kind of goes through something when he loses to Paul in a 6-on-6 battle. Maybe he shows up and like snaps Ash out of his funk, and maybe he's one of the key people who talks to Dawn. Maybe he meets up and he's like, "Hey, you lost. It sucks, and you're gonna lose more and more, but you can't let it get you down. If your Pokemon sense how you're feeling, it's going to make them feel worse too. I'm not saying don't feel bad. I'm just saying find a way to snap yourself out of it, and I'll be right here to help you."
Yeah, I think that'd be really nice. It'd kind of be interesting if he stayed with Dawn at the end, like, because she's staying for, I think it's Baniri becomes a model.
I guess.
But he decides he wants to travel with her still in the Sinnoh region or whatever they do, and so that way, and he's not conflicting with her plans on either competing in contests or letting Baniri be a model, whatever it is again.
Yeah. Heck, depending on what their goals are at the end, you could have Lucas, Barry, and Dawn in a traveling group at some point.
Yeah, or they could completely drop the Baniri model thing and they go off on their own journey off somewhere else.
Yeah, that works too. But that might have to be after Black and White, but who knows at this point. Mm-hmm. Speaking of other games, can I add something to just about all the characters we do this for? Can I add like one universal thing that I think you might like?
Okay, go ahead.
Just like Team Rocket, the fourth wall does not exist to these characters.
Yeah, I can kind of see it, but
obviously not too over the top. Like, some could do it more than others, and some could do it like once or twice in their whole tenure. But I feel like these guys, out of everybody, should be breaking the fourth wall the most. Behind Team Rocket, of course.
Mm-hmm. I can kind of understand that. Yeah, I can kind of understand it. I don't know how it would be done, but I could see it done well.
It's just like they could just see Lucas and be like, huh, Luke, the second time they meet Lucas, like, Lucas, what are you doing here? It's like, I don't know. The fans seem to like me, so they're deciding to put me in more episodes. But what are you guys up to?
And the Kes goes, wait, what?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm just traveling here.
Yeah, but also in terms of filling out the Pokedex, I would have Lucas be catching a wide variety of Pokemon. And, like, Paul would just release them immediately, but Lucas would just be, like, sending them back for research purposes, or, like, I guess keeping his sister company or something like that. And Dawn and Ash like, really? That's all you're doing is filling out the Pokedex? And he could just, without even thinking, just say, well, it doesn't seem like you guys are being that fast about it, so... And then they could both get depressed about, like, I didn't mean any... Did I say something wrong? And Brock's just like, just... Maybe we should just eat lunch and forget about it.
I would have Brock kind of mention, Ash has caught, like, over 100 Pokemon, but 70 of them are Tauros.
Really? And he's like, really? Hey, well, that's cool. I mean, you still hang on to all of them, don't you? Don't you?
They're all gonna pat it down.
And maybe even he could even say, "Oh, my Charizard too." It's like, "Oh, you have a Charizard? Can I see it?" Next.
It's away training, or back at the lab, or something else.
Went out to get milk and never came back. That sort of thing. But also, I'd have Lucas be very close with his sister and his dad, just regularly checking up on them, introducing them to the gang, just that sort of thing. Very, he's a good boy.
I could really see that as well. I mean, we've kind of talked about it. I don't, not to the extreme of that character from Black Clover, but he's a very
Ghosh.
Yeah, but
no, absolutely not. Not to that degree at all.
He gives, like, the presents like Ghosh does, where he's constantly, like, every time he can get something, he's giving it to his little sister, new doll or a new toy or something, but yeah, none of the kind of creepy part of Ghosh's version.
Yeah, nothing about that. We want to keep this show relatively for kids. But one of the other qualities I'd have is Lucas feels like, for a while, or at least part of this, he feels like everybody can be redeemed. He could think to himself, well, Team Galactic, like, he could even learn throughout the course of the series, maybe not everybody who worked for Team Galactic is a complete monster. Maybe there are some people who are just lost who can be fixed. Now, some of them just can't be fixed. Some of them would just be horrible people. But I feel like my problem with Team Galactic was a lot of them were either arrested or, as we've talked about before, just sink to the bottom of the ocean and are probably dead. I'd have Lucas, maybe it's Saturn, or the girl, the one with the red hair, like, maybe thinking, why are you doing this? I mean, you like, everybody else is confrontational, but Lucas could be like, you're hurting a lot of people, and even if you're successful with this new world, it'll come from a lot of hurt being done, and hurt only leads to more hurt. Just that sort of thing. Basically, a Taka no Jutsu.
I can see that. I really could. Again, I still want him to start out very angry. Like, he doesn't even... He's like a completely different person at the start when he sees Team Galactic and sends out his Pokemon to battle them before they've even, like, threatened to steal anything. He's always constantly trying to prevent them from their task before it even starts, I could kind of see. And then, as you said, he meets some grunt or a low-level admin that may be unique to the anime, and just kind of makes him rethink, okay, maybe some of these people just got lost and sought help with the wrong people.
Yeah, basically that sort of thing. And would you... things get a little weird at this point. I remember, at least for Brendan, we talked about him showing up, like, in the next... Like, Brendan showing up in Diamond and Pearl. Well, would you have... I guess one of the things for me I'd find kind of interesting is if Lucas thought to himself, Ash, you're just as impulsive as my friend. It's like, my friend Brendan is like, wait, you know Brendan? I'm like, yeah, look, that yay high, white hat, kind of a jerk, a nice guy, but kind of a jerk. And they're like, yeah, Brendan. And just basically, he also sees Brendan as a very close friend, similar to Barry. Just, I don't know. I like the idea of certain game characters being very close with each other.
I could kind of see it.
Heck, maybe like Ash and Misty, he has a lore, but it's of Brendan or something like that. Something weird like that to make the audience laugh.
Yeah, the only thing I might have against it is just the timing of it. Unless Brendan's traveling around there at the same time, it would just be hard to place him if like how he went through. Maybe if he is traveling, then maybe he's on a different journey again. But again, I don't remember what we talked about.
Oh no, it's not. He doesn't even have. He doesn't necessarily have to show up. They could just mention him. They could just mention him for continuity's sake, because sometimes Pokemon is really bad about continuity. You would know that, Mr. GS Ball.
Do you think Lucas should have the GS Ball?
I didn't. If we ever figure out what it is, sure, why not? If that was the case, he'd be your favorite protagonist. He'd be your favorite character at that point. Well, he brought back the GS Ball, so he wins.
I could see that an interesting thing when they do. I think it's the Johto Carnival arc for the Soul Silver and Heart Gold games.
Yeah, with Lyra and Corey, whatever.
That they bring Kurt back, not necessarily for that the GS Ball, but for all the Apricorn balls, and that could be an interesting little event. I always loved those Pokeballs just because they have really unique designs, but that would be, I think, a unique episode where he gives like all of them a new set of these, or maybe like a full set of them. That would kind of be an interesting thing for them to do.
Yeah, basically that. Fun fact, there actually is, I guess it's called a render. There is like a body render of Lucas and what he would look like in the Diamond and Pearl anime. Like it's like, supposedly it's legit. And apparently this part I'm not sure if I believe, but apparently the reason they didn't put him in the show was, quote unquote, a voice actor couldn't be found, which I don't really know if I believe that.
They could have hired anyone. Hey, Jimbo, come off the street and here's a paycheck and talk for this, say these lines.
You said Jimbo, and I immediately thought of Jimmy's dad. And he does, I feel like Lucas would somewhat exude Jimmy's dad energy in a sense. It's, minus the Donut Boy stuff, unless we want to add that. But I think, what would you have Lucas's party be? Because I do have a sense of what that would be.
Well, we kind of covered it earlier. With him completing the Pokedex, I'd kind of want him to have a rotating team. He might have one or two members, like the starter Pokemon, and maybe one or two more that are kind of a permanent fixture on his team, but the other three would cycle through just to kind of cover everything.
Yeah. Do you want me to just go first? Because like I said, I do agree with you rotating out Pokemon for Lucas, and just the idea that he would send a lot of them back. But I think I do have a sense of what the 5 main ones would be.
Okay.
We talked about Turtwig and whether it evolves or not. I guess it could evolve into Grottle. Maybe Torterra is if he comes back in Journeys or something like that.
Yeah.
Munchlax, primarily because Diamonds, or Lucas in the manga, had a Munchlax. So I feel like that would be a nice callback. And just that sort of thing. Remember earlier when I talked about maybe this was even off screen, but we talked about a Pokemon that people never seem to use in the anime? I'd have Lucas be kind enough and at the same time kind of brave and strong enough to catch a Spiritomb.
Okay, yeah, that would be an interesting one for him to have.
Yeah, and everybody's scared of it, and he's like, "Oh no, look at him! He's so cute." And Spiritomb just looks at him like, "Why do you trust me? Why do you trust me?" Because Spiritomb is a dangerous Pokemon.
Right. He didn't even recount how he heard it crying in the well and all that, and then and he fell down there and then just caught it.
Yeah, it's just like it felt so bad. I couldn't just leave it down. And obviously Spiritomb would show incredible loyalty. Like, Pokemon like us should be terrifying, and we are, but we're still loyal to our trainers.
Okay. So that's 3, I think,
Yeah.
you've done now.
This is going to be a little bit of a weird one, because I have noticed that a lot of rivals or just commands catch Pokemon from previous generations. It gets weird like that. And this could lead to some comedic hijinks. Lucas could catch a Spinda.
Okay, I can kind of see that with how we described him being kind of a klutz. I could see him getting like dizzy punched or something by mistake.
He's like, no, hey, don't eat that. Are you stumbling? Are you okay? And he thinks to himself, oh right, it's Spinda. It's supposed to walk like that. Heck, maybe he's trying to find specific ones, because apparently no Spinda pattern is the exact same.
That could be interesting.
Drifloon, oddly enough, I'd have him fly with Drifloon, either on its back or just with his hands, like, hey guys, just give me a second to land, just that sort of thing. Plus, to sell the fact to the games of, hey, on Fridays you can catch Drifloon, like, provided you do all the quests afterward, do all the building stuff beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And last but not least is Drapion, and Drapion would be his most aggressive Pokemon. Maybe he sends Drapion out like we talked about whenever he faces Team Galactic, because it's like they have a similar mindset. They're out for blood. Metaphorically, this is still a kid's show.
Okay, I could also see him possibly having a rotating in Bronzong. Just, it's a kind of a unique, very rarely used Pokemon, I feel. It's used heavily in the games, but I don't remember it very much in the anime.
I was about to say, it is used a lot in the games. It's so ridiculous. But yeah, I like that. Like we said, Lucas is not necessarily a battler per se, but I would have him be a competent battler, like in the sense of, maybe even in the sense of Conway. He finds ways to deal with the Pokemon, like he thinks about it. But also I'd have him be able to think on his feet, because Conway freaked out whenever his strategy adjusted. I'd have Lucas be very calm in battle.
That would be an interesting dynamic, like if they got partnered in the tag tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's kind of, they have Conway come in to freak Dawn out, but
yeah, heck, you could throw Brendan in the tag tournament, since we were talking about it earlier, and those two could show excellent chemistry.
God.
They could even. I'll make things better for you. They could even mention Ethan. It's just like, wait, isn't Ethan supposed to be with you? Yeah, we got lost, and he's around here somewhere.
But thinking about it, it could be kind of interesting to see him and Conway, and Conway does like what he does and sneaks up on Dawn, but Lucas is sitting right next to him, making the exact same face. Just like,
so he would be.
He does the glasses thing, even without glasses.
He does the glasses. He's like, oh, I see. It's like, you're not wearing glasses. And they just yell at him like, what are you doing? Don't get in on this. And he just starts laughing about. But also, I guess my thing with my overarching trait with him is he finds a way to bring the best out of people. Like, he helps people have their funks. He makes Barry think a little more. He just finds ways of helping people and just getting out into the world. Ultimately, it could kind of even lead to journeys where his decision is, I want to be a Pokemon Ranger.
That would be a really good story. I had an idea for a story, though, for him. It's kind of a combination of some of the older stories with when they have young kids, like when they go to visit Pokemon schools a lot of the time.
Sure.
There's always like a kid who gets jealous and tries to steal one of the Pokemon or something like that.
I hate that so much.
But if you have Lucas involved, have it be, he shows up, this kid's got that mentality, thinks Lucas is a dumbass or something along those lines, and then slowly realize throughout the episode, he's doing this for other people. He's helping them out, doing what needs to be done to make people feel better, and in the end, that's kind of what turns the kid around, I guess, is the right idea.
Yeah, heck, at the same time, though, he could be kind of humble about it. Like, he's like, yeah, but I still have a lot to grow. I still have a lot of ways I need to grow. And people are just like, no, dude, you're... Just, like, it's just nice to have nice characters sometimes. Mm-hmm. But this one would be a bit more developed. Heck, with his kindness, you could even kind of screw with Brock in some senses, because you could even have Lucas be kind of popular with girls, but not like super or show-offy about it. But kind of like in the last Naruto the movie, whenever the girls would say Naruto Senpai, he'd just be like, huh? What's up? And Brock would be like, teach me everything, and Lucas is like, I don't know what you want from me.
Yeah, I almost want, like, if he's in the Pokemon Center or meets with Officer Jenny, they react like Brock reacts. It's like that might be a little weird, but
yeah. Well, okay. Well, you say that, but I have to remind you of an episode in the Advanced series where Drew is just hanging out in the Pokemon Center casually, and a bunch of older women run up to him and like, "Oh my God, Drew, I am such a big fan of yours." I'm like, some of you are moms. Isn't this kind of creepy?
Okay, yeah, I guess it would be. Thinking about the age, I constantly change the age in my head, and it's like, okay, I need to think of he's 12 or 13, somewhere around there at this point.
Maybe something like that. Honestly, it could just be like maybe he meets up with the gang, and do you remember Dawn's rival Ursula?
Is that the one that wants to flirt with Ash all the time?
That's Miette, and that's a completely different series. I
thought there was one that was like she makes fun of Dawn and tries to flirt with Ash.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's Ursula. I think that's Miette with Serena. Ursula's just like super stuck up, and she has this weird laugh about her. You'll know. I feel like you'll know who I'm talking about the second you see her, or maybe if somebody played a clip for you. But she really wasn't in the series that much. Maybe.
Yeah, that thing that really needed to change was Dawn had like 5 rivals.
Oh, dude, bottle that rage, bottle that energy, because we're gonna do videos about stuff like that. But Ursula could kind of be one of the people who's like, so, Lucas, do you have somebody in your life? And Lucas could kind of just be like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I have a lot of people. And she's like, no. She could get frustrated by it. And Dawn could kind of pull her aside and be like, look, like, are you trying to distract me or something? He's like, no, he's cool. Well, like, that's the one time Ursula is nice about it. But just something like that. It wouldn't turn into a love triangle or anything, even if Dawn did like Lucas. But that's just... I'm just throwing ideas at the wall. It's hard to write for Lucas.
Yeah, especially because if you play as the character, you don't get any personality whatsoever because they're the silent protagonist. And then if you don't play as them, especially in these games, they don't have much personality.
Yeah, but and the thing is, a lot of my ideas for his personality are kind of based on other game characters we have. But that's... Look, if we ever did a video about like a game special only characters, maybe I could talk about it more there, but that's not what we're here for. But just I also have him kind of get under the Looker taking him under his wing, like just kind of, hey, if you want to stop Team Galactic, there's a way to do it, but it's not by like mercilessly hurting them. Just you understand it, and that's kind of what turns him around.
Yeah, I could see that, and then Looker kind of recommends him go towards the Pokemon Private Eye or whatever, or what is it? International Police, I think is what they're called.
Yeah, and sadly, I would not have Lucas say "F the police," even though I'm perfectly okay with him saying that. I mean, yeah, but like it could just be in the sense of no, I want to follow. Maybe he just says I want to follow my own path or something like that.
And isn't this the series where we have the Pokemon Rangers show up on a regular basis?
Yes.
It would be interesting to have him show up and maybe one, because I'm trying to remember how many episodes. Are they in more than just the one episode that they are introduced and then the return for the finals?
I feel like they get a couple of two-parter episodes.
Okay. I could see him maybe showing up and being like he's a Ranger cadet or something, and that's what he's experiment. It's part of like his experimenting with different things and trying to decide what he wants to pursue.
Yeah, and obviously, but you could even as a sick, twisted callback. Ash could be like, "Oh, you could be a superhero. What about Gliscor Man?" And Lucas would be like, "No, that's okay." That's okay. Hey, and then little kid me would be very happy because I don't need more Gligar-based superheroes.
Hey, you said it was Gliscor, so it'd be
Yes,
Gliscor-based.
I mean, it would be better because it's Lucas, but I won't talk about that anymore. My therapist has enough on his plate.
Yeah, I could definitely see, though, as you said earlier, with the Ranger idea, but I would really like him to try almost everything out. Like,
yeah, he could try making Poffins at first, and similar to May with Pokeblocks, people could be like, "This is terrible. This is garbage, my friend."
I could see them saying it's somehow it's undermixed, but you still spilled it everywhere, and they're burned. How did you do this?
Even Munchlax picks it up and tastes it, and Munchlax does not like it. It's like, wow, I made something even Munchlax won't eat. And they're just like, I don't know how you did that, Lucas, but nice job.
I could see, like, Dawn's over at the other table making hers, and Munchlax walks up and starts eating all of hers, trying to get the flavor out of his mouth.
I have to get the flavor. It just starts tugging on her like, hey, I need some of that. Also, this is nothing to do character-wise. Lucas would have a Poketch, because a blue Poketch. Like, we don't need the Poketch to be a character. We don't get that until Sun and Moon, but you understand. It's just a cool. It would just be something nice.
Yeah, and again, he'd show up kind of as like I guess Barry kind of filled that, but the role of every important event in the series, whether it's a special contest for some reason, or a special gym battle, or the Rangers showing up, or the Johto Festival, or whatever, those would be the big episodes I think Lucas would show up in.
Yeah. Also, just kind of a weird, just to tie it back to the manga a little bit, he could be eating on a fairly regular basis. Like, not Dawn in the sense of when someone takes her food, she turns into a monster, but maybe he just pops up behind them every now and then like, hey guys, what's going on? Even though it was weird for how much he ate, he was pretty in shape from what I could remember, from the very, very, very little I've read.
I see him though following in like Barry. He and Barry are the same, where they just run everywhere. So that's why he's in shape.
Yeah, well, either that, or you could even reverse it. Like, have Barry run everywhere and just have Lucas take his time admiring stuff. Like, oh, look at the beautifly over there. It's like, stop wasting time. It's like, dude, like, a Pokemon journey has no time restraints. We can take our time. Or he could just break the fourth wall and be like, dude, when was the last time either of us had a birthday? I think we'll be okay.
Trying to think. I'd want him to be involved, though, with maybe they could start the Pokemon, the Brock transformation when they're at the Pokemon daycare for the Sinnoh. Like, Lucas is actually breeding his Pokemon and seeing like how they develop differently based on which ones he has lay eggs together and stuff like that. And then
that sort of thing. That could be cool.
And Brock's like, wait, what are you talking about? It's like, I'm actually breeding my Pokemon. Isn't that what you told me you were a breeder the last time we saw each other?
Yeah, and then we get one of your favorite moments, Brock being in the ground and just drawing his finger. He's like, am I saying something to upset you guys? You could even have Ashton be like, why did you say that? I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm sorry. He could also get very emotional about that. It's like, please leave me alone. I'm confused and sweaty.
This would be also a great moment for Krogunt to come in and go and just pat Brock on the back and be one of his more gentle moments. Like,
that could work. Or also, Lucas could, whenever Lucas gets embarrassed or something, he takes off his hat and just hides his face in it.
Yeah, I think that would be kind of sweet. He knows he's embarrassed here. He's done something that he shouldn't have, but doesn't understand what he actually did wrong.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Dang, now that I say that out loud, a special just with game-only characters could be really fun. That's not just 3 minutes every single week, which we do want to talk about Pokemon Evolutions. There we go. I was about to say Generations.
We're waiting for we have one more week, and then we're filming this the week before Christmas, so we won't be filming next week. So
yeah, so you're probably not going to get a new episode. Not that anybody's asking for new episodes, but That's why I did a commentary this last few days, just to make up for it. But regardless, I think the kind of things that we've come up with Lucas is at times not, I want to say dim-witted, but at times naive yet very compassionate, loving person, and who learns more and more that even though not everybody is as nice as he is, people can be redeemed. Even though he could go in, the one kind of badass moment I would give it is at the end. He goes in and finds a way to save Hunter J, and everybody's just like, so you really think they can be redeemed? And he could say, no. You tried to hurt so many other Pokemon. And he could even be involved. He could even admit at some point that Saturn maybe made a face turn and just found a way to redeem herself in some way. It's like, you did nothing. Hey, you abandoned your teammates and you did all this stuff. I saved you so you can go to jail. And everybody could be like, oh, cool.
Yeah, and again, I'd want him to have almost a fear of, like, at the end of the series, if they're all going back, like, maybe he watched the Pokemon League finals with the whole gang and is going back and to talk with Rowan about deciding to not remain a research fellow but to pursue the Pokemon Ranger idea. And he has kind of remembers how scary he can be, and it's like,
yeah,
how is he going to react when I tell him I'm giving up being his research fellow to pursue this? And I could just see Rowan being just so proud that he's found out what he wants to do.
Yeah, and he could. Yeah, I would kind of like it like that, like Uncle Rowan in some case. He doesn't literally have to call him that or anything, but just kind of somebody he genuinely looks up to, alongside his daddy.
Yeah, and that could be a sad farewell. I mean, we wouldn't have seen them very much, but if we have the moments of him calling home, like when they meet him in a Pokemon Center and he's actually on the phone calling his family and saying stuff, so you could see the connection with his family. If he's leaving at the same time the series is ending and he's going off to Ranger boot camp or whatever it is, that to get trained to become a full-fledged Ranger, and a heartfelt goodbye between him and his family as he leaves for X number of months to get trained.
Yeah, that sort of thing. And I know what you meant when you said Ranger boot camp, but I'm just envisioning this harsh, horrible army-style training with Lieutenant Surge yelling at him the whole time. He's barely able to sleep, but he is jacked by the end of it. But I just envisioned that the second you said Ranger boot camp, because when the way you said it like that, I'm just thinking, how horrifying is that to go through?
Well, I think in the real world, there's, like, to become wildlife rangers, there's a boot camp-esque thing where you do physical training and learn and do classes on wildlife and all that sort of thing.
True, but in the Pokemon Ranger game, you just send in the letter and you're just like, oh, okay, you're hired. You're the main character now.
That's not how jobs work. Trust us, we know.
Oh, it's hardworking. But I think we have a good amount of what to do for Lucas. The only other stuff I have would just be like minor side stuff with other characters, and there's only so much of that I want to throw in.
Okay, so how would you? Because we're assuming Paul is still a part of this. How do you want them to be, like, their relationship?
Oh, they would not be friends. They would not be friends in the slightest.
Like, I could almost see Lucas having to control his anger when he finds out he ditched Chimchar.
Oh no, that's what it would be. And considering, I guess I can't say this is for kids anymore because the voice actors had changed at this point. I think Lucas could, in a more adult series, Lucas could even try and throw a punch, but somebody stopped him, like, no, don't escalate, don't let him get in your head. Obviously, he wouldn't do that in this series, but maybe he could try getting in his face, and people could be like, relax. This is exactly what he wants.
That could actually be interesting. So he goes to throw the punch, and Chimchar blocks it. And then Paul's like staring at him, and Chimchar looks back and walks over to Ash.
Then Chimchar's just like, I could have let you get hit, don't make me regret my decision. That's what that could work.
Well, it's more of don't waste your Chimchar's don't waste your time on him kind of thing. Stops the punch and walks away from Paul.
Yeah, and heck, everybody would always be trying to get inside Paul's head. So Paul, what led you to this? Lucas could be you know what? You're a lost cause. I'm sorry. I am not helping you at this point. But as the final episode Paul's in, where he's actually developed, Lucas and Paul could give each other a look. It doesn't have to be a warm hug or a smile or a handshake. It could just be a simple nod, and they just nod back at each other, and they go off.
They're not friends, but they've come to understand each other and grown as people to accept each other.
Yeah, which is what I would like more from Rivals for Ash. Not we're friends, but just in the sense of we get each other, but I still don't necessarily like you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that would be a good ending for him and Paul, and that's...
That kind of just came out of nowhere. We kind of just threw that together. That's not bad.
I know, that one... Because, they have almost polar opposite personalities based on what we've created, so...
Yeah. Heck, you could even do with that, you could even do a weird episode where they switch bodies or something like that, just so we can see Paul all happy and friendly, and it would just weird out the internet.
Well, yeah, I can imagine it's maybe leading up to the time and space or distortion world thing where that's what's caused it. So,
yeah, that sort of thing. Heck, maybe he even has a talk with Cyrus, similar to Paul. Look, similar to Saturn. It's look, you don't have to do this. But obviously, it could even still end the same way. But then the fans would still be see, Diamond and Pearl wasn't dark in the slice, and we're all people almost died. So, where's that coming from?
Cyrus is in a random extra-dimensional portal without food.
Yeah,
he's probably dead.
I still do not get stan culture. I seriously do not get it. But overall, I feel we've gotten a lot for Lucas. We got a lot more for Lucas than I thought we were going to get, in all honesty, because he is not given much.
No, and the only issue with adding Lucas, though, to the entire series, and we've kind of touched on it a few times, is that there are already way too many characters in the Diamond and Pearl anime that are recurring. So I'd almost hope that they drop some of Dawn's rivals, not all of them, but at least a couple of them, just so it doesn't feel as packed as it is.
Yeah, we could send a few of them to the graveyard in order to summon Lucas. Mm-hmm. That's a Yu-Gi-Oh reference. I'm not saying we actually kill them and just put Lucas in their place, but
that you ruin all my fun.
I do, but you start doing that to me the first day we met, so we're even. But we're not ruining Lucas's fun because we're giving him something to do. So, and I'm gonna be honest, he would seem happy.
Yeah, and again, it would be interesting to see him come back. He could, being a Pokemon Ranger, he could be a recurring character through all of the series. I know that they never focused on that, but him being on assignment in the Kalos region or the Unova region or the Alola region for some event that he's hoping to take help out on could be interesting and make him a overarching recurring character.
Heck, if they ever wanted to age him and make him like a legit adult, he would probably retire at some point and maybe be like, I missed research. But that we'd have to age him up more, and there's only so much of that we can do in the Pokemon timeline.
Yeah, so we'd probably have to do like a Pokemon 10 years later, who's the main character and how's everything going?
I'm not sure I'm ready for that video, but we can always talk about it.
All right, you have any more ideas you want to talk about for Lucas?
Not besides just other stuff, other minor stuff with other game characters, which we don't have to talk about here. Yeah, I'm pretty tapped out. I think I'm good.
I am as well.
All right, so ladies, gentlemen, and others, what do you guys think about Lucas? What would you add to his character if you were going to put him in the series? And don't just say, oh, I wouldn't put him in the series, because that's not really the purpose of this video. It's to add like an alternate dimension, like type thing, like a remodel style of thing. But just let us know what you would do for his character.
Yeah, and again, as we said at the start of this video, if you which format do you like better? Do you like us talking back and forth about one character, or do you want us talking back and forth about one character each and not really discussing one character? So we're kind of interested in seeing which formats works for y'all.
Yeah, it's going to be real fun when we get to Black and White, because things are going to change around that time.
That means I have to watch the series, doesn't it?
Eventually you're going to have to, or else I'll just make all the Black and White content Pokemon videos by myself. But that would include the best and worst of each Pokemon series, because we have to be fair.
Yeah. Well, I've already got the worst thing about that series, so...
And I have to try and find something different, because I'm trying to be different about it. But anyways, we will see you guys next time. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. Mainly, Happy Graphelnik. Be sure to get some revenge on the ones that you hate. Hey, and we will see you guys next time. This has been Alex.
And Richard.
And you've been listening to the Anime Egotists. Good night, and peace easy.